What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Jacked Ramsey's. I guess it should be like a Jacked Ramsey when I'm doing these solos. This is the first solo one I've done in a long time. It's dumb late. It is, let's see, it's almost 11:30. Just got back from the practice facility. Joe Cronin was wrapped up. Got some questions. Got to talk to Joe in person for the first time. So just kind of getting an understanding of where things are and kind of what things are happening and just a lot in general. I wanted to do this in the sense of I actually kind of felt bad for number one. Thank you to everybody that came to the live watch party. We had over 400 people coming through. We actually capped out at 400, but people kept cycling through. So that was kind of overwhelming. The guys that watch playback were like, "Man, your community is nuts. We didn't expect anything like this. This is incredible." But so shout out to you guys. But the flip side of this is I got supremely frustrated, not with Joe Cronin, not with the Blazers, not with Shaedon Sharpe. I got super frustrated, and I discussed it a million times, but in the moment it finally just hit to the point of pissing me off. How far the Olshey era parked everybody in the corner, and how impossible a task it is to split both timelines. I got the text that I kept mentioning. I got a text from somebody that was like, the gist of it was basically what I just said. You can't do both. And whether that means Dame goes somewhere or not, that wasn't the point. It was, there's not a clear path that in the real world makes a ton of sense. And that really bothered me. Because I look back at it and I go, to be totally blunt, honest, I just want Damian Lillard to have a legit opportunity. And I very strongly feel like Joe Cronin and his staff want to give him that. But they're also trying to recoup an era of 5 or 6 years where they pissed everything away. The things that, if you go back, all the podcasts I did, everything that I wrote about for years, it just kind of all came together. And if you've been around a long time, you've probably heard me talk about the no BS, face melting session at Summer League in 2016 when they did the Crab and Turner deals. We had a huge house in Las Vegas, a bunch of writers, SB Nation, ESPN, SI. It was 50 people that were all through there. And it was absolutely bonkers. Absolutely insane. It's just absolute insanity. But when those things happened, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. But professionally, I tried when I wrote about it. You can go back to Blazers Edge. You can find it. I tried and as best as I could to be as objective about it, regardless of my own personal feelings and frustrations. I didn't try to paint it in a positive light because I'll never do that with anything. But I had that same kind of feeling tonight. And I felt like it kind of cheapened the idea of Shaedon Sharpe and drafting him. So for anybody who was bothered by that, I'm sorry. That was not my intention. It's really interesting. To be clear, I know the Blazers tried for OG. I know what the ask was. I'm not going to get into it because that's not what I do. But I know why they didn't do it. I get it. It's just, again, that frustration kind of comes off. I will say this, going into the into the draft, I said I'd be shocked if they drafted somebody, because based on who I talked to and what they told me, people that I trust very much, I very much believed that they were going to move that pick. I think Richmond said, on his show, I think he said he figured there would be a 95% chance they were going to move that pick. I was surprised. I was shocked. I didn't know that it would get as desperate as it got. To an extent, maybe desperate's not the right word, but I'm glad that they didn't give the ask. I'll say that. I'm glad that Joe Cronin and his staff did not give in to what the Raptors wanted. Period, point blank. Noah Berman asks, what are the odds that Shaedon is in a Blazer uniform when the season starts? And I think that's a good transition here. I believe that Shaedon is going to be here after listening to Joe talk about him. And something that I kept in the back of my head was that bringing on Mike Schmitz, that the Blazers had some access to information other teams didn't have. Schmitz is one of the few guys that had real access to Shaedon Sharpe for a long period of time, and not just leading up into workouts. When I did the morning hit on 1080, I said I believe Sharpe's their guy, and that was part of the reasoning for that. But I genuinely believe that Sharpe is somebody they're considering to be a guy going forward. They took a big swing. That's Joe Cronin is. I'm going to take a step back real quick. I had heard from a lot of people around the organization about who Joe is, and I hadn't been able to talk to him yet. I mean, the previous management and I weren't exactly on great terms. So, but I got a few minutes with him tonight, and the vibes in the room felt different. And I genuinely believe that they want to build something here. Okay, the mic gains. Okay, cool. Something gets bumped. I don't know. It's too late. I don't. Not that I don't care. I'm just way too tired to try to fix it right now. Hopefully that helps. But I genuinely believe that the Blazers believe, Joe Cronin and his staff believe, that they are doing the best possible job, and they are taking risks appropriately to build the best possible team without putting the organization in a worse position, which hard to do, but I do believe that is the case. The other part of this is there is still time to get things done. I said I wouldn't judge anything until August 1st, and that hasn't changed. Regardless of my frustrations earlier today, that I don't think that's the case. It's something that's just very interesting. And Jake Stevens says, I don't think this moves off the Dame timeline. We need to look at getting 36-year-old Dame a chance. Nothing in the NBA is planned out that far. It's not. Things can change. Take a look at the Brooklyn Nets for a perfect example. The Blazers did accomplish one thing already in getting Shaedon Sharpe. Like, that's their big thing. The next thing is that while the deal hasn't gone official, and that's something we can actually talk about here real quick, the Blazers did make the move for Jerami Grant, and they got good value. I like it. I think they did what they needed to do in that regard. Looking at what could possibly happen from here on out, I think there's some interesting propositions. I would expect that they keep that trade open for a while. It would allow them to move some things around, to process some things in a different transactional order. Perhaps technically they could use the TPE for Grant. Technically it could still be open if they commit to another move taking back salary somewhere else and instead use Bledsoe going out to rectify. And as long as you can consolidate it all into one move, which, again, this trade hasn't been finalized, that leaves it open, that they can still do some additional things there. It definitely sounded like the Blazers are going to look to add additional talent, starting caliber talent, to the roster. As far as the Matisse Thybulle stuff, I've been told it's still very much alive. So, what that means for now, I don't know. But one thing to consider is that the Thybulle situation is that he's still on his rookie deal, and the Blazers have a $6.5 million exception from the Robert Covington trade. I would imagine that Thybulle could get slid into that and make that make sense for them. So, Andy Marchand, the roster has been rebalanced somewhat. Hopefully more of that to come. Maybe also trade deadline consolidation trade. That's the longer timeline stuff that Brandon and I have talked about for a while, the whole 18 months. And they are thin in the front court, Andrew. They absolutely are. And I think that what I hope they're able to accomplish is getting another significant move done, bringing in another salary slot to where they have access to the full MLE. Because as of now, they don't. So they need to figure some stuff out in order to get that done. It's going to be interesting. From Tyrell, hey, Dan, just wanted to say thank you for all you do. Sprague as well. You guys are the best. We truly appreciate best Blazer quality. Hey, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Danny, tell everyone Sharpe is not a 3. He's not a 3. He's too small right now. Maybe he bulks up. I wouldn't count on it. I mean, he's got a decent sized frame, but I don't look at him and go like it's skinny Kawhi. I'll go on my old adage. You are who you can guard. Right now, I don't think he can guard threes. But again, the other part of this is I think very, very, very few players coming out of college can guard threes. It's one of the hardest positions in the league to guard. Turbotastic, what role do you think Sharpe will have as a rookie year? It's undefined right now. They think he is supremely talented. Supremely talented. I mean, the way they talked about him, they very much believe in him as far as being like an upswing guy. Now, how much of an upswing is, or how much of an upside it is, I don't know. Magnus says, I prefer the low-key late-night Danny over the daytime Danny. Listen, man, there's different volume settings. I'm tired. I've been up since 5:30 this morning, and I have been going nonstop. So, I am tired. But I wanted to kind of get these thoughts out because Brandon and I will go through like the minutia of situations, but I wanted to kind of parse through some things. Number one, the Sharpe deal by itself is fine. And I thought it was really important the way Joe talked about it tonight in the press conference is being caught up in trying to get to positional or position of need. I had to look at everything in kind of a vacuum or an isolation. That was one of the things he was careful to point out. The other thing he was kind of careful to point out is how much more work they put into this draft. I don't think it was a dig, but it definitely made everybody in the room kind of go, a little more work than usual, huh? I think it gave a little bit of an insight into maybe the process being a little bit more robust around the scouting this year. So, one of the fun things about tonight. Leslie says, Danny has nice hair. It's one of the few things that on me it's still nice. Everything else has gone to hell. But overall, I'm in a okay spot with where they're at. But I have a lot of questions. But again, that this is kind of what we kind of cautioned, right? The whole idea, you have to wait until August. You can't get caught up in the foray of it all. And where do they go now? I think that they're still going to target with what they have left, which is a couple TPEs. They've got Bledsoe. They've got some back-end second-round picks. It's not a ton, but see what they can find. Maybe they can find a starting caliber 3. I barring something transcendent popping up, I definitely think that they're leaning in on keeping Shaedon Sharpe. That was the sense that I got. We'll see. But Jeremy says, if Kyrie does leave KD's ask out, or would have given away to get Dame and KD? It was certainly something that was talked about tonight around multiple people. But I mean, I don't think that's something that the Blazers are looking at, and it's fun to dream though. To bring the circle fully back to Kevin Durant coming to Portland. What was it? Honk once for KD, twice for Greg, or was it once for Greg, twice for KD? Where's Golliver when you need him? Colin asks, what's the best case for Bledsoe? It's that he's moved. I mean, there's going to be a team out there. I mean, we saw a little bit of it tonight with the Knicks, who had the worst draft I've seen in some time, managing to turn a lottery pick into 3 protected firsts. Go with God. That's interesting. That's all I'll say for that. Eric says twice for KD. Perfect, thank you. I will say my hesitation with the Sharpe stuff is it does present an issue of looking very similar to what the Blazers just got away from. The roster is better balanced right now, and Shaedon is on a rookie deal, but he's also your biggest trade chip probably outside of Dame and Ant. Because it's shiny, right? It's a mystery box, but it could be a boat. I'll just say it's interesting. I want to see what comes out of that going forward. I don't want to get out of here without mentioning the second pick the Blazers made, and it's interesting. Obviously, Chauncey's a Colorado guy, and actually Joe Cronin is a Colorado guy as well. So it's been kind of fun, kind of watching them go through everything. But one of the things they did mention is that obviously Chauncey does watch Colorado basketball a little bit closer than he would at some other random game. Mike Schmitz also has, I tweeted out a couple of Schmitz's videos from a couple months ago this year. A couple of them were on Jabari Walker and a couple were on Shaedon. That's the nice thing about having a guy who was basically the guy nationally. But I also tweeted out, the Blazers got their 6'8" two-way wing in Jabari Walker. Both those guys will play in Summer League, and like I said, I was told pretty stringently, vehemently, that the Blazers were not going to have anything really worth going to Summer League for. So I didn't get my tickets. So I literally just came home, and what I did before hopping on here was I talked to my wife about going to Vegas for 3 days. So I will probably be going to Vegas for 3 days and check out the first 2 games with these guys. But yeah, it's I think that's going to be a Rorschach test, definitely. You're going to see what you want to see with both those guys. I will say that Simons destroyed people in a way that I don't think anybody saw coming. He showed some stuff that was tremendous, and I think it was kind of highlighted. If Sharpe goes out there and is average, I don't think it says anything about him. If he's out there and great, shows some platform stuff, awesome. It'd be great for projection, but if he goes out there and isn't great, I don't think that's necessarily a problem. TurboTax, the Blazers have Joe Ingles' bird rights. Do you think they try to bring him back? I do. As of right now, I haven't heard anything change on that. You don't sound too thrilled, Danny. I'm just tired. I'm very, very, very tired. That's why I'm not. I'm very tired, and I'm very, very full of allergies right now. I have taken so many allergy drugs over the last 3 days. I am a disaster. But it's going to be fun to watch them in Summer League. I'll say that. I know this isn't the most structured, and it's basically me just kind of talking at stuff, but I just had some stuff on my mind. One of the things that I think I wanted to ask Joe, I didn't get a chance to, either on the sidebar or in general, was did he feel like not that he got enough done, but did he get done what he wanted to or needed to get done in his own mind at draft night? I think that's a really interesting question. Because by itself, if you're just looking at Team X drafting Shaedon Sharpe, did they do well? Yes. Team X drafting Shaedon Sharpe with a team led by Damian Lillard, does that make sense? If you're talking about just Dame, yeah. We talk about how Ant learned so much from Dame, learned so much from CJ. Like with the footwork video of Dame and Ant side by side, it's tremendous. One of my favorite, like, just little anecdotes. But is it a good thing for Sharpe to come to this situation? There's not a ton of pressure on him. There's 4 guys in front of him. You have Dame, Ant, Hart, and honestly, you might even see Nasir slide into some power too. But overall, I think the Blazers did okay. I still don't know why they traded away their first, second round pick. I think they perhaps may have been looking at Josh Minot because they did bring him in, and they went with the pick before. So perhaps that's why they were like, nah, we're out. Now we're out. So I don't know what happened with that. As far as the Dame question, because I've gotten that a lot tonight, they did bring in Jerami Grant. Like, it's not... They brought in... I said this unquestionably. If they brought in Jerami Grant, they were bringing in their best wing since probably Brandon Roy. Like, that's nothing to... It's nothing to slouch at. I'll say that. And Joe did say this. They're not done. And they're not. And so as much fun as it is to panic and lose your collective mind, I'm trying to keep and offer a little bit of perspective tonight. So, mostly I just wanted to kind of frame the idea of, because if you're one, like I said, we had 400 people during the watch party. I just want to kind of like frame my frustration and kind of where I think a lot of other people were or are right now. And again, I don't blame Joe. I don't blame Dame for wanting somebody now. I don't blame Shaedon or anything like that. It's very much looking at what made sense in that moment. And Joe said, in the last week they were gearing up, and that they truly believe that you had to really sell them to give up that pick. And they weren't blown away. So they went this way. Will it work? I don't know. But I'll tell you this, Joe Cronin has said from the jump that they're willing to take risks and they're willing to take swings. And I'm going to stand by the idea of, I want a general manager who's going to take risks. And I have said from the jump, I'll live with those as long as you're stepping up to the plate. Because I know that they stepped up to the plate. I know they did. There's times in the past I know that this team did not do that. I know that they did not put up what needed to be put up. Fair offers were not made. They weren't even discussed. Tonight they were. And sometimes it just doesn't get done. And that's how you go. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Sorry, what happens to all the trades, Danny? They never came. They didn't. They didn't at all. I think you get a lot of cold feet. I think it's very easy to talk about doing things. It's a lot more difficult to do it. But I'll stand by it. It was the busiest, most newsy prep going into a draft I'd ever been around. It was a lot. It was a lot. But it kind of is what it is. Now it's time to regroup and look towards what happens next. Like, what free agency's 5 days away? 7 days away? It's coming quick. It's good. Now we'll see what kind of happens out of this. Does Damon ultimately go, okay, I trust you? Does he say, I'm going to give it a year? Does he say, I'm going to give it 2 years? We won't know. Dame's pretty good at telling us what he thinks and how he feels. That much I know. So it's going to be interesting. That's all I'll say. Brandon and I will do a show tomorrow afternoon. I think around 3:30, and then we'll kind of adjust from there. I think I'm going to hop on with Hyken. He's got his new show, the Rose Garden Report, that's out there. So go ahead and follow him if you've got the ability, the capacity, support him. That's a good get. There's a lot changing in the beat market here in Portland. I will be covering the team much closer going forward. I will be at press conferences like this. I will be at post games. I will be in locker room scrums. There's just a lot more opportunity. And there's a lot more stuff coming up. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be interesting. If you guys have questions, go ahead and submit them. If you want to tweet, maybe I'll put a tweet out tomorrow morning, or if you want to email jackramseys@gmail.com. I'll grab as many as I can before tomorrow's show, and Brandon and I will go through and just we'll bounce back and forth how it goes. But it should be fun. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate you. Like, rate, review, subscribe. Help us grow the show. At Danny Meringue on Twitter, at DMeringue Instagram, until that squatter gets off my damn IG handle. And I'm gonna dabble in some quick video TikToks. Too old for it, but that's gonna happen. I was trying to think. I will have a video coming out how they're going to use Anthony Simons, how different he is from CJ. Like I said, that's like the most requested one I've gotten. That one's in the works. I started kind of grinding that one up a little bit. I will get into the Jerami Grant stuff, how he fits, where he plays, what that kind of looks like. Then we'll also talk about some summer league rosters. I got some insight into some guys that may be there, and then we'll go from there. So, again, thank you all so very much. I am going to go pass out until, noon tomorrow. You guys have a great night. 400 of you came in again here for this show live. You're all monsters, and I love you. Thank you. So, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful night. Brandon and I will be back tomorrow afternoon. We will catch you all then. Take care. Talk soon, as always. Bye.